Debrief, everyone. We're going to head straight to Iowa right off the top of the broadcast for the trial of a husband accused of murdering his wife with a corn rake. Prosecutors say Todd Mullis plotted the crime after his wife had an affair. The motive, the state says, was property. If wife Amy Mullis left the marriage, she would keep a stake in the family farm. The defendant first said his wife died accidentally after falling on the corn rake. But the medical examiner found 6 holes in the wife's back. Corn rakes have only 4 prongs. Now the defense is saying someone else must have killed the wife. The defendant himself taking the stand this afternoon. He is going on in testimony right now, getting into that day when his wife died. Let's listen live from Iowa.
To the side.
But she didn't stay overnight in a hospital?
No, she did not stay overnight.
From that day, from November 6th up to November 10th, was she as physically active as she normally would be?
No, she spent almost 24/7 in the house. She was just resting, and that's basically all she was. She was cooped up in the house.
So when she said, you know, do you need some help or can I help, what was your reaction?
I said, if you're okay with it, that's fine.
So did you all go together out to the hog barn?
No, Tristan and I went out first. We went out first, and then Amy came out. She wasn't dressed yet for chores. She was in her pajamas yet, and we were dressed already, so we went out first, and then she came out a little bit later.
Okay. Do you have an estimate as to what time you and Tristan would have went out to the hog barn?
I think it was it was after 9, by 9:30, sometime around there.
And Tristan described the various things that each of you were doing when he testified by video the other day. Was he accurate?
Yes, there was a few things we do in addition to what he was saying, but I was doing those jobs, so it makes sense.
He was getting those heaters and getting them to the pins?
Yes.
Amy was cleaning light globes?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
And you were getting these nipple feeders down?
Yeah, I was getting the nipple bars down and zip tying them in place, but I was also hanging the brooder heaters at the same time.
Okay. At some point, did you notice anything about Amy that concerned you?
Yes.
What?
She got down a couple times, and she would brace herself against the feeder, and she'd kind of she was kind of just like readjusting herself. And I think Tristan asked at first, she goes, "You okay, Mom?" Because he was closer to her. And she goes, well, I just feel dizzy. You know, I'm lightheaded. And then we asked her if she was okay, and she goes, you ain't, is there something we should be concerned about, you know? She goes, no, I'm fine.
Okay. So all of you continued with your work?
Yes, we just kept doing the same thing.
Was there any further concern about how Amy was doing?
Yes, not every pen, but every so often she would get down and it would take her longer to readjust, and she said she was just dizzy. She kept getting dizzy. So we just kept asking her if she was okay. You sure you want to go back in the house? And she goes, no, I'll just keep going. It ain't that bad.
That she indicated that she wanted to be helpful?
Yes, she didn't want to go back in. She didn't want to feel worthless, I guess.
And in good health, this would certainly be something that Amy would be engaged in fully?
Yes, it would be no problem.
Okay. At some point, did she concede and agree to leave the hog barn?
Yes, after multiple times of asking her if she was okay. We were concerned about her, both Tristan and I were concerned about her, and we kind of go, hey, I think, you know, you're going to get too hurt here, you're going to fall off, so why don't you just go in the house?
And she agreed?
Yes, reluctantly, yes.
How did this thing with the pet carrier come about?
The pet carrier was, she didn't want to go at first. She kept saying, I'm going to keep going. I'm all right. And then Tristan actually suggested, he goes, hey, Dad, we need to get that pet carrier out. And I go, yeah, Amy, why don't you go do that? Why don't you go get that pet carrier out of the shed, because we're going to get the skid loader and water towed out. We don't want to run over them cats.
The
That'd be
skid
something
loader,
good to help us out.
the skid loader and water tote was going to be used to water the chickens,
The
I think.
chickens across the road, yes.
And these kittens had been orphaned?
Yes, they were orphaned for a while.
And what was the pet carrier what was that going to be used to do to help with
Well,
the kittens?
Well, we're going to use the pet carrier to put the kittens in while we back machinery in and out. That way we knew where they were at, and we could back them in and out, and we wouldn't have to worry about running them over.
Okay. So Amy left the hog barn.
Yes.
Tristan mentioned something about wearing boots in the hog barns. Did you wear special boots in and out?
Yes.
And what was the reason for doing that?
We use that so we don't carry disease from one site to another. We would take our work boots off and then like a slip-on boot on just for them hog buildings.
Okay. So when Amy left the building, it was your understanding she was going to go to the shed, get the pet carrier, and do what with it?
She was going to put it in front of the shop and then go in the house.
What did you and Tristan do after she left the hog barn?
We just continued working, doing our jobs, hanging nipple bars and brooders and washing lights.
At any point, did you become aware that Tristan had stepped out of the main part of the hog barn at any time?
Yeah, I think I seen him go down towards the end to get a drink, yeah. That's what he said he was gonna do. I'm gonna grab a drink quick, Dad.
Was he gone very long?
No.
Did he do that more than once?
As he stated he did it twice, I would guess that'd be accurate.
Do you have an estimate of how many minutes or seconds he would have been out of the main part of the barn getting the drink before he returned?
It's a matter of seconds.
Okay. While he was doing that, did you ever leave the barn?
No, I did not.
About how long did you and Tristan work there before you decided to do something different or something else developed?
We worked in there, I'd say a good hour, if not a little more. I mean, I didn't check the actual time, but I would estimate it was at least an hour or hour and 15 minutes or something. And then we were done with the barn. We had all the pens done.
Okay. What was your plan once that work was completed?
We were gonna go in and grab some lunch, and then after that, we're gonna go do the other barn.
So did you go straight to the house?
No,
Describe what happened next.
we went in to clean up, change our boots, and as we were doing that, me and Tristan were standing in front of the window at that time, and I go, well, that pet carrier over there, and he goes, yeah, I wonder what happened. That's what Tristan, and it was in a conversation. Well, what happened? We didn't know. Well, maybe she couldn't get it out of there. I don't remember which one of us said those words, but we were having a conversation of why isn't it over there? And then Tristan said, you want me to go check it out? And I said, yeah, why don't you go over there and check it out? If she might not have been able to get it out of there.
Okay. So he went on his own?
Yeah, and then he went over to see what happened.
Well, you went over there to see
See, whatever.
what went on with the pet care.
Yeah, if she couldn't get it out, he was gonna grab it.
What did you do after he left the building to go do that?
I was just finishing washing my hands up. I had to slip my boots off, slip onto my other boots, and then I proceeded to go outside.
What happened when you went outside?
I had just stepped out for a second, and Tristan yelled.
Did you go to him?
I looked over and I was kind of like, what, you know? And then he yelled really loud again, and then I ran over there.
Where was Tristan in relation to the shed? Was he inside, outside?
He was yelling out of the opening. He was just outside the opening yelling at me. And then as I was running over, he was just standing just inside the door.
And did he say anything to you about what was upsetting him?
I don't remember him saying anything. He was more or less, Mom. He was just kind of speechless.
What did you see when you stepped in through that door?
Well, when I stepped in, I initially looked at Tristan, and I looked over, and I seen Amy hunched up, face down, laying next to the door, leaning against the door.
Did she have this corn fork stuck in her?
Yeah.
What did you do?
I more or less just dove down by her. I put my head down. I was like, Amy, Amy. I was yelling at her, trying to get her attention. I didn't know what to think. I was just looking at her, and I picked her head up a little bit, and it was just nothing. It was no response.
So what did you decide to do?
I just wanted to help her. I just wanted, let's go to the hospital. Is there something wrong? Right now, I just reacted.
Did you pick her up?
I started to pick her up. I went under her, like her armpits, and I was trying to lift her up, and that fork handle was jabbing in the toe out the caging. And then I realized, hey, this ain't gonna work. So I just set her down more or less a little bit in my arm. I just reached over, I pulled the fork out, I tossed it, and I got underneath of her, and I told Tristan, go get the truck, we gotta go.
And he did.
Yeah, he took off, and then I tried to get her up and get her out of the barn.
Did she ever become responsive at all?
No,
How did you get her placed in the truck then? How was she situated?
well, I got her out of the barn, and it was kind of hard. She was like a noodle, and I got underneath her, and I carried her like this, and Tristan was standing by the truck and get the door open, and he, I told her, get in there, and you gotta help me get her in, and he sat down in the seat, and I go, you gotta hold her, because I can't get her in there decent, you know? It was hard to get her in the door. And then I set her on Tristan, and he was holding her up in the seat.
That is an Iowa murder defendant basically telling the jury that he did not kill his wife, as he describes his version of finding her injured in their barn. We need to take a 3-minute break here on The Debrief. We will be back with more live testimony in the case of Todd Mullis in just a moment. Iowa murder defendant Todd Mullis is on the witness stand right now, talking about arriving at the hospital with his wife, Amy. Now he's sitting in the stand accused of killing her. The defense says it wasn't this defendant, but it must have been someone else. The police say there was no one else on the property other than their son. Let's listen.
Yeah, I can't remember. Honestly, I think Mike was there maybe. I just can't remember exactly who was all showing up at that time. I remember there was a bunch of people coming in.
Out at the location where you met the deputies in the ambulance, do you remember expressing to them what you thought had happened? To Amy speaking.
I remember when I was on the 911, it was like the 911 call said, I said she must have fell in a corn fork. And then when I got over there, at Brian's, I think somebody asked me again, like, I really don't know what happened. I thought she fell on it, I don't know.
And you spoke with Deputy Thompson at the hospital briefly?
Yes, I think he spoke to me at least 2 times, yes.
And a similar conversation or an explanation of what you thought might have happened?
I don't know if I explained what I thought happened. I just explained what we were doing that day. He had asked what we were doing that day, and then I just said I found her there, and I don't know if he specifically asked what I thought happened.
So you gave him an idea of what you just told the jury?
Yes, I didn't say I knew what happened. I just said this is what my perspective was. This is what I witnessed.
At some point, while you were still at the hospital, were you requested to go to the sheriff's office and have a conversation there?
Yes, Luke Thompson came up to me and he said, "Hey, is it okay if we just take you downtown and explain it one more time?" The best of my memory, that's what he said.
And you cooperated with that?
And I said, "Well, if you need me to, that's fine, let's go."
After you left there, where did you go?
I went back up to the hospital. He took me back up to the hospital. I wanted to be there for Randy and Peggy when they got there. So I waited there till they got there, and then after that, I went home.
Okay. Were the kids at home when you got home?
Yes, they were home at that time.
Your mom and dad there?
Yes, all my family was there at that time.
Okay. When would have been the next time you had any contact with law enforcement about this?
Yeah, it was a few days later, 3 days later, 4 days later, Sheriff Leclerc called me and said they're wanting to wrap this up. We want to wrap up this investigation. Could you come down and talk about it? He asked how the kids were, things like that. And then I said, well, if you need me to come down, I'll get cleaned up and come down.
What had you been doing day to day in between Amy's death and that phone call?
Making some plans, looking up some songs and things like that for her wake or funeral, and getting the kids ready to go. I put the kids in school right away to keep a routine going, and just making plans.
When you got to the sheriff's office, did you participate in the interview that we saw parts of today?
Yes, I did.
Had you had much sleep in that span of time?
No, I didn't. No.
Had you heard any rumors around town?
Yes, they said the rumors were going crazy.
Rumors that you might be in trouble?
Judge, I'm going to object to any rumors. That is clearly hearsay, and there's no foundation to the context.
It would be hearsay.
I'll change the question. Thank you, Honor. When you started into that interview, were you expecting to be accused of your wife's murder?
No, not at all.
were you still apprehensive about being interviewed by the agent?
Not at first, but then I was after a little bit. I mean, the length of time, I was like, what is going on?
Okay. Do you believe, well,
Live testimony there from defendant Todd Mullis trying to fight off charges that he murdered his wife after he caught her having an affair. Let's jump in. We have 3 attorneys and a judge listening with us. Judge Brendan Birmingham, I'll start with you. What do you make of the testimony? Is this believable or is it not believable?
Well, he has very artfully explained away every piece of inculpatory evidence that has been introduced against him. There's an answer simply for everything that the prosecutors put up. He didn't do the searches. He discovered there was an affair before, but he didn't kill her the last time. They were working through things. He didn't have the opportunity to commit the crime. So far, so good for him on direct examination. I can't wait to hear the cross.
I can't either. Roger Foley, how might the prosecution want to go at this?
I think that they're just going to, do their standard cross-examination. This guy is very cool, calm, and collected, and extremely believable. So I think they're going to have a tough time. I think that their case is falling apart right now.
Gwendolyn, Lindsay-Jackson, you're here with me in New York. You said that there's an emotional quotient that's on the stand right now. Does that make it believable?
I think it does. He looks like a gentleman whose wife just kept stepping out on him, and he was trying to hold it together, hold the family together, and do the right thing. It's going to be very hard-pressed for a jury not to believe him with this high likability factor.
Brian Buckmire, I'm waiting for the state to go line by line through the internet searches that suggest someone was searching for killing methods and things like that. What do you expect will come?
What I think is going to happen, what needs to happen, is the prosecutor's going to have to say, hey, can I come back tomorrow morning, get the minutes, and just like you're saying, go line by line. I'm very curious as to the searches in between the incriminating and the benign searches.
Okay, we need to wrap up. For those of you watching on the debrief, some of us will be sticking around for extended coverage of this case on the Law&Crime Network. 2 of our panelists will remain with us. We hope you will too.